Welcome back to another episode of the Critics Corner. I'm Joe.
I'm Matt.
And today we're reviewing The Mitchells vs. the Machines, the long-awaited animated comedy just hit Netflix about a month or two ago from Sony Pictures. We have to say we really enjoyed the film overall. A lot of fun at home streaming. Would have been nice to see, at the movies with its animation, but also served a greater purpose in the terms of political commentary with its view on technology increase. Matt, is there anything you'd like to say before we start the review, or any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the animation, I gotta say, was incredible with this whole film. The story was great. And like Joe said, I wish it was on a theatrical release, but obviously because of COVID that couldn't happen. But I wish it did. But overall, I'm still happy with the film.
I couldn't agree more. We were discussing the animation earlier, and Phil Lord and Chris Miller, two of the best animation, hits around. Like I'd say, they made the Lego Movie, Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse, some of the best animated feature films of the last decade, in my opinion.
Agree.
The animation in this movie is fantastic. It looks like it was pulled right out of a comic book or pulled out of a kind of like an art design book with like sketches.
Yeah.
And I love that aspect of it. And the characters are they're designed very uniquely. They all kind of fit the same style, but each character looks very different from the rest, and that kind of fits the eccentric vibe of the film, because the main characters of the movie they're kind of like a dysfunctional, eccentric family. We have the Mitchells, Katie Mitchell, Linda Mitchell, Rick Mitchell, Aaron, and then we have the dog, the pug. I always forget his name, but The film really starts off as the family argues a lot, specifically Katie and Rick. She wants to go to film school, but Rick doesn't really see it as the best passion, and that's how they kind of butt heads. But the movie kind of explores deeper into that relationship. They really dive deep into the family's relationship while they're fending for their lives during this monster invasion. And what I initially thought was just going to be a family going through this big monster invasion mess, it's got a lot more heart and soul and depth, and I'd say it was such a nice way to start 2021 with an animated feature film. I really love that aspect of it. The fact that these characters are all fighting, but at the same time, they're the ones that have to save the world from this robot invasion.
Yeah.
But Matt, what do you think about the family dynamics in this film and how it relates to even our lives during COVID?
Yeah, I mean, overall, you could just see, like, either on the news or anywhere really, like, you see families kind of, like, falling apart. And this is basically what happened between Rick and Katie in this film. And she wants, like Joe said, she wants to go to film school. And she wanted to show the family a farewell video during dinner. But her dad at first said Rick said he didn't want to watch it initially. But then he said it was okay, and the computer wound up breaking. Which really tore the two of them apart for a while.
But instead of her, going out flying on a trip, we're going to go on an old classic style family road trip. And I love that.
Yeah.
Especially because you get to see more of the family dynamics, but it also unfolds throughout the end of the movie, and it's carefully put in. It's definitely not rushed. The film is only about an hour and 50 minutes, right?
Yeah,
but it's really well put together. Like I said, it's really well paced. But again, we got to talk about the political commentary about technology uprise. As you know, COVID, technology has only been kind of boosted because we have to rely on it. Because we really couldn't go outside during the shutdown. And we couldn't really see movies, but we had to adapt. We had to remain versatile, use what we have. And the film kind of explores the more cynical parts of technology. Like we can be traced. We can be tracked easily. And the film explains that it's a metaphor because something as small as a cell phone can really be the villain in our lives. And the villain in this movie was a small cell phone played by Olivia Colman, which was a really awesome performance. But I'm like, oh my God, obviously it's far-fetched, but you sit here and you see people, like, they even show you people getting addicted to Wi-Fi and what happens when it's gone and how people react and lose sight of themselves. And in a way, I can relate to that. When I had schoolwork over the year and the Wi-Fi was gone, I had a panic attack. So I could see that and how we're so obsessed with looking at these phones and what it really does to us as a whole, because it really shows this futuristic part of, kind of their town in the film.
Right.
Because Eric Andre kind of plays this guy who's responsible for like making all of this technology or introducing it at this upfront, and all of a sudden he screws it up by losing Pal, who's Olivia Colman's character. But that's what I love about it. Just the fact that we're sitting here thinking, how much power does this small thing like a cell phone really have in our lives? And you'd be surprised that it has so much more. Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, we look at it for our news. We read books on there. We do a lot of research.
Watch movies.
School right now, school because of the pandemic. So we're relying on it a lot. I mean, job applications. Some jobs are even located online. It's like it could basically do anything, and it's just the fact that, well, who's looking into us? What are people? What can people see about us online? Because people are out there and can kind of get their hands on tech when they shouldn't, and what impact they could have. I mean, we've seen things with cancel culture and what people might have said online about 10 years ago resurface and really bite them back in the butt. It's and specifically politically. I think this movie is a metaphor for all what we're discussing, where we could see people like presidents getting, talked about through the media online. And a lot of these corporations are, a lot of the stuff we're reading comes from bigger corporations that have a lot more power than I honestly think they should. And it's such an interesting topic to talk about, especially when you see like the news, people are just so divided. And I honestly think the media has such an important play to that. And I think that movie, while it just shows a bunch of people just kind of get captured by robots and cell phones, I think that's like the metaphor for all of this. What power and what danger can really lurk behind all of it?
Exactly.
And honestly, the dynamic between that and then the Mitchells having to go save the world, and you kind of see their clash or their family clash because a lot of this are their own personal issues. It was a really heartwarming movie, in my opinion. But Matt, what do you think about all this? I just went on like a huge rant about like technology uprise, but it is an important aspect in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said everything I was going to say. So,
well, what else do you have to say about the characters? I mean, were there any characters?
Yeah. Character-wise, I love the villain. I understood why she was doing what she was doing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But, she basically got put aside for this new piece of technology, which what were they? The whatever the robots.
There was like these robots that could do any command.
Yeah.
We're heading into that phase as well. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean the robots were great. At least the two that were with the Mitchells for most of the movie. They were hilarious. And just the whole family as a whole, like all the characters in this movie were amazing. I
also think that as the movie kind of continues, they don't make it like this thing where they have to do one objective to the other, like a lot of these movies pan out.
Yeah.
It doesn't really focus on that because it also tries to establish its characters, which I think is really important in a film. And I love Katie's development because I'd say she's the main character out of the bunch, but she goes from kind of becoming like, I wouldn't say she's selfish, but going from wanting to make it about, I want to go to film school, to realizing, hey, there's a lot more to family. And you really see that through those hour and 50 minutes, especially the other characters. The movie doesn't really tell you. The movie tells you that the whole family's making mistakes, and that's part of the norm. There's not really a lot of normalcy in the movie, but when you look at the family itself, while they are dysfunctional, it's a lot of normalcy we'd normally see in our own families through disagreements. Yeah. And I think just part of that is so touching, and the way they kind of end the movie off with trying to work on family as a whole and to kind of get through it and to know you can get through it, and that's really part of the movie's goal. But Matt, Matt loves humor, so I think I'm going to pass this to him. What did you think about the comedy in this film? Because I think animation really strives well if there's some sort of comedy in it, and I saw you
Yeah.
dying of laughter every step of the way.
So, let's see. Where should I start with this? So, the two robots, when we first meet them that stick with the Mitchells, they could not tell the difference between the family's dog, a pig, and bread. So, when they made the joke, dog, pig, loaf of bread, I started cracking up. Then, with the Rick Mitchell special when they're on the highway, cracked me up.
Oh, they always had that little running gag in the movie when
Yeah.
they have to do some sort of crazy stunt on the highway that
Yeah,
Rick
like a
showed
2D
Katie.
animated
Yeah, they just they
gag.
pop up with puppet designs and 2D
Yeah.
anime, and it goes along with what Katie does in the movie because she's kind of known for making those in her films,
Right.
and they kind of like give you a glance. It's kind of like meta or self-referential in a way where they kind of
Yeah.
throw it at you, and I think it's a lot of fun.
I also love the
The direction's really good too.
yeah, that, and then the joke with the screaming monkey.
Yeah, they don't shy away from some of the social media craze either.
Yeah, it's great.
Crave either at all. I love it. There is a lot of things to enjoy in the movie, and I also think it's very well written because I just talked about its political commentary and its impact on families around us.
Yeah.
Linda is also a pretty fun character, in my opinion. She specifically gets a lot of kind of redemption at the end there that I think is a lot of fun. With mothers trying to protect their children. I love that. I love what's the character's name? Aaron. I think Aaron's just like a very funny. I just think he's
like your typical
8-year-old
awkward kid,
But I think he also serves as like this the member of the family who can see all. Like he just can see. He could just sense like what's going on or no. Like he's just very aware, and I love that aspect of it. That the youngest kid is kind of like the most mature in the family. Well, he does have his own little moments, but I love the scene where they're like in that shop and the Furbies just come and they want to try to stop the invasion, but they can't. But the scenes at the very end of the movie where Katie has to perform the Rick Mitchell and they kind of like climb up and try to save everyone from all those from being trapped by the cell phone, and they kind of stop all the monsters. It's just a lot. There's just a lot of excitement and a lot of family dynamic, as we've mentioned. Again, it was a really fun and amazing watch. Really well written. Directed by, who's the director again?
Michael Rianda.
Michael Rianda. I don't think I've heard anything he did before, but just I saw his goal and I liked it throughout because the movie serves its purpose as something that's very well written.
Yeah. And
establishing a nice story while also establishing its characters very well. And I gotta give it an 8.5 out of 10. Now, what are your closing statements here?
Honestly, I enjoyed this. I'm gonna agree. I'm with Joe on his rating. I thought it was a great film. It has minor things like that you see in all of their movies. Like for example, when they disguise themselves as robots.
Yeah, they do have their cliches, but I look past that and I see its political commentary.
Yeah. Overall, I'm with Joe. 8.5 out of 10.
Oh yeah, it was a great movie. You guys should definitely check this out.